Hi, everybody, and welcome to the latest episode of my pretty new podcast called Dating Over 50 Up Close and in Person. My name is Michele Burkhart. I am a dating coach located in the St. Louis, Missouri area. And the whole point of doing this podcast is to share my personal experiences because even though I'm a dating coach, I am single and dating. And I think that's one of the reasons why people can relate. I can relate to you and you can relate to me because we're both walking the same walk and talking the same talk. And not just that, but to bring other people in and talk to them and get different perspectives. And that's what we're going to do today. This is actually part three. If you've watched my other episodes of the Gary saga, and that may or may not be his real name, wink, wink. Um, and the interesting thing, and I don't know if you didn't watch the last previous segments, the first segment was that we actually had some attraction, Gary and I. We were having a lot of fun, lots in common, until he told me that I would be so much more comfortable if I lost weight. Well, that pretty much killed any attraction that I would have had for him, of course. And I thought it was kind of rude. I mean, maybe like if we were married 100 years, he could say, well, Michele, maybe you ought to like, let's walk a little bit or something, but not on like, he knew me for like 8 hours. So in my mind, if you didn't like what you saw, then why would you even date somebody like that? Anyway, so that was number one. That was the first one. Then I actually, the following week, which was so I honestly thought this was hilarious was hilarious. I went to happy hour with my girlfriends, and lo and behold, one of my girlfriends actually had a date, and lo and behold, her date was with the same Gary, which we got a lot of mileage over happy hour, over drinks about that. We just laughed and laughed and laughed. So what I asked her to do was come on and talk after her date with him because I wanted you all to get a different perspective. I wanted to see like how everybody is looking for something different, someone different, right? And then how people are perceived differently by different people. So I'm hoping that after we chat for a few minutes, that you will get an idea that you really want to kind of open your mind a little bit because I think we would both agree that after you meet Cindy, that this person was not he wasn't on anybody's top 10 list. I would think would probably be a safe way to say that politely. But it's just really different. So I want to introduce you to Cindy, and she doesn't want to be on camera today. So Cindy, could you just say hello?
Hello.
And she's not shy, so don't let her fool you. She's not shy one little bit. So Cindy, okay, let's just start with we are at happy hour. And I say to you and to the whole table, you're going to go out with the guy I just dated. I want to know, like, what were you thinking inside your head?
Let me think. I had a martini and at that point.
Well, yeah, I did
um,
say happy hour.
I
Mhm.
actually didn't think it was that odd because having been on a lot of these websites, there's a lot of recycling of men. There's the same men. So, and there's not a lot of them out there, particularly in our age bracket. I'm
Well, see,
sure
that's
in a
so
young.
interesting because I honestly thought, see, that is so funny. Okay, right off the bat, you thought that way. I thought this to me was a really huge Casablanca moment. And what I mean by that, it's like of all the gin joints, you walked into mine kind of thing. Because you and I don't live near each other geographically. We're a half an hour apart in the St. Louis.
Mhm.
And St. Louis is not a small community, but we're not a big community. We're ranked, and I looked this up. We're ranked the 20th largest city in the United States. So we're a fairly large city. And you and I we don't live close to one another. We don't cross, no one would know from social media or anything that you and I know each other. And the fact that we ended up crossing paths with him, I thought that was really unusual, frankly. That's never happened to me before. I mean, has that ever happened to you before?
I've got a lot of strange things that have happened to me in my dating years.
Okay. So you went ahead and went out with him. So tell me
Yeah.
what you thought about him, like just your overall impression.
Well, obviously, there was a um, uh,
Was there a
oh, I,
preconceived notion
yeah,
about how he was going to be?
say our meeting that we had on that the night before, Thursday night. I guess it was the
Yeah.
night before.
Yeah.
So I went in, with that in the back of my mind, but there still was the same initial, oh, he's not what I thought he was going to be in from his profile and from his pictures. I mean, that's always my experience is it's usually there is a big gap between what they say and then who they are actually are.
Yeah.
Occasionally it's not, but
You
that
know,
that that
I actually, so I've been, and I know you have been divorced for a long time, right?
47 years.
Okay. That's just a minute, isn't it?
Yes,
So,
yes.
I've been dating for, well, I've been dating probably for 3 years because I took 2 years off after my divorce. So you have a ton more experience dating than I do. But even with that, I have to tell you, I had one experience where only one, and I date a lot. I mean, I date a lot. And so I think one out of 100 where the guy was absolutely, and it wasn't that he was fatter or taller or shorter or older. What he had done is he let his hair grow because it was during COVID and he had longer hair, which would have been fine. I just didn't recognize him.
Okay.
I didn't recognize him. And so, but I don't see that as being something that happens often, I guess is my point. I mean, I think
Wasn't
can
so
it,
much it wasn't so much his appearance as it was just his the sense that I got from his profile and from his pictures of who
oh,
he would be.
so
And then basically,
you
and
expected
then our
someone
conversation.
different, like a
A
different
little
kind,
bit different. I
you
actually,
expected
yeah,
a different kind of guy.
right. Exactly.
Oh, interesting, interesting. That's so interesting because again though, we are looking, even though we see this stuff, everything we see, we're looking at through our own lens. So it's kind of like, yeah, I can see that. I can see that. And I
Mm,
didn't have that with him at all. I didn't, because I had talked to him and on the phone and you had not. So I
no.
kind of had a sense more of his personality
Okay.
when we met. So I wasn't that surprised. I was more surprised at the way he was dressed, honestly. And
Yeah, but well, you had pretty much set me up for that. Um, and he didn't look bad, but he wasn't dressed the style that
no, and I was talking to my
you would
sister
expect.
who's actually she's divorced and she's been divorced a very long time like you. And I just said, I just want I just want the men that I go out with to dress like grown-ups. That's all. I mean,
Mhm.
I don't think that's asking very much, really. I just want the men that I'm dating to wear grown-up shoes and to dress like grown-ups. I mean, and if they do that, then at least we're over one hurdle and there's not like that to be like all of, disappointed about, because I mean, I get dollied up when I go out. I mean, I wear jeans a lot, but I still look nice and have makeup on and have a cute shirt on and that kind of thing.
Uh-huh.
So, yeah, so that's kind of the thing. I have to tell you what the one thing that made me chuckle about because Cindy was so kind and she called me because I said, oh, call me after you get done with the date. Well, I actually thought her date was Saturday, but it was Friday. So when she called me, I was like, oh, are you excited about tomorrow? And I was kind of being sarcastic, with tongue in cheek. And she's like, well, no, it was today. And I was like, oh, darn. So, but one of the things that I think really made me chuckle was the fact that you said, oh my God, he talks so much about his money.
Yeah.
And that is something that I just thought that was pretty funny. I thought that was pretty. Now he's very generous. I'm not going to say he's not super generous. He did not blink, picking up a couple bottles of wine when we went to a wine tasting. He didn't blink. It wasn't an issue. He was very generous.
Hmm.
But So when you hear that, what's your first thoughts? When,
Um, a lot of times I think it's a man's ego probably just telling the woman that he's meeting how successful he is. It's his way of doing it. And I feel like there are better ways to do it than
yeah,
how he approached it.
I have to agree
It's
on that.
like it was to the point where it was sort of like sometimes when they talk too much about it, you get, oh, okay, do you really have money, or is this
Yeah.
just a way of finding out how much I might have, my
So
situation?
yeah. Well, and I didn't get that. I didn't get that he was trying to like pump me for information about my bank account. I didn't get that from him. I think it was more the other thing where he was probably really proud of the fact that he was as successful as he is and wanted to make sure he wanted to make sure that everybody knows about it. Which I mean, again, I think personally that shows a little bit of insecurity on their part, don't you think?
Well, that's kind of the way I took it too. I've dated a lot of men that are very, very successful. And that's usually not how they handle the
Right,
conversation. Some
right.
of them do. Some of them do.
Yeah, but
Um,
don't they always say that somebody who has really big money doesn't talk about money?
right, usually.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I have found too. That's what I have found too. So is money an issue for you? Is that like a deal breaker? Do they have to have a lot of money in order for you to date them?
No, but I want to have an equal standing, financial standing.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, I think that's reasonable. And
Yeah.
I think that's one of the interesting things what people don't realize, and I didn't realize it either. There's only like, oh shoot, I used to know this. I want to say there's only 10% of the entire population that makes over $100,000 a year. I mean, and there's only like 4% that makes over $250,000 a year. I mean, and that's the whole United States. So I mean, I think that puts money into a different perspective when these women are like, you know, I want somebody who makes a lot of money. Well, there's not that many of them out there comparatively. I mean, really. I mean, when
Well,
you think about that, because
when you
that
run into
10% is men and women. It's not just men, it's men and women. So,
Yeah,
I mean,
and
I don't know how
typically
many.
for a man to have made a lot of money, and for women too, I'm not saying just a man, for anybody to make a lot of money and be successful, they're not, they don't have their attention a lot on their dating game.
That's true. That's true. I
Usually
mean,
on business. That's
I honestly have found that, and even in my own life, because dating is sort of part of my job, darn it. It's a tough job. Somebody's got to do it. Um, Not that I don't enjoy it and love it, but if in a way it is kind of part of my job. And so if it wasn't, and I was as busy as I am and had to date on top of it, you really do have to make time to date. If you're a busy entrepreneur, you have to make time to date because otherwise you're not going to meet anybody. I mean,
well, and that's why dating sites and matchmakers have become so popular because
yeah,
it's not as time consuming.
right. Oh, I know. But I don't know. I mean, personally, I'm a little bit more of a control freak than that. I mean, I like the dating sites. I really like that because then I can kind of pick it. I like to be the picker. Do you pick the guys or do you let them pick you?
I usually have to pick them because most guys I don't get contacted very often.
That surprises me. I don't know if I do either though. I think I do most of the picking myself, but I like that because I want to be able to choose who I invite into my world.
Yeah.
So I don't take it personally. Do you take it?
I,
Have you dated enough that you don't take any of this personally?
no, no, I get annoyed with them when you do reach out to them and they respond back, but they don't leave an opening for a continuous conversation. And I often wonder if it's because I think it's just ignorance on their part on how to keep the
Well,
conversation.
yeah. It's really funny that you said that, Cindy, because I've coached men. Okay. So I coach primarily women, but I also coach men. And I have to tell you, men do not know how to date.
Right.
They absolutely do not know how to date. And they have, I personally, and again, maybe it'd be interesting to get your perspective on this. I don't think it's that hard to really make a woman smile. I mean, it's like if you open her door and hold her coat for her and treat her nice, she's smiling. I mean, it doesn't take
Yeah.
that much to get a woman to be like, "Oh, aren't you a nice guy?" Do you agree with that?
Oh, yeah, I definitely agree. I think I had went on a date last summer that this guy did something that I've never had a guy do. And I was like so impressed. And he texted, we were meeting at 5 o'clock, and about 5 or 10 minutes before 5 o'clock, I was on my way and I was going to be on time. It was just the drive time. And he said, I'm already at the bar. I said, I'm on my way. He's, tell me what you like to drink and I'll have it waiting for you. I thought, wow.
Oh, isn't that nice?
Here's a man that clearly has dated a lot.
Well, and you know what? And how simple is that?
Yes, yes.
I mean, I think I'm teaching a webinar, or not a webinar, a seminar on Valentine's Day. I'm doing one for women, then I'm doing one for men, and then they're doing a mixer afterwards. And the one that I'm doing for men is how to uncomplicate dating over 50. And I think they overcomplicate it. It's like all you have to do
Oh,
is be nice. And frankly, I consider this honestly, part of this is just good manners. I
yes,
mean, like I treat the girls I go out to dinner with nicer, or I mean, I have better manners than a lot of the men that I've dated. And I think they just don't know. I think they honestly just don't know how they're supposed to act, or how they're supposed to act when they're not in the wild. You
right,
know, I mean, when they're not at the bar with their buddies, you know.
right.
So, all right. So you and Gary met. Did you decide if you were going to see him again or not?
It was clear that he was very interested and wanted to see me again because he kept bringing that up. And I said, well, I said, I did specifically, I said, well, I cannot have enough friends, which was my way of
Oh,
letting you know that I was not attracted to him. And he kept saying to me in the conversation at the end, well, I think there's an attraction. I think there's I don't know about you, but and that's when I said, well, I cannot have enough friends. I
so do you
said,
think he got that? Did he get what you were trying to
no,
tell him?
no, he did not get that because I got a text when I got home a couple hours later stating, um, give, he said that he would be calling me. No, he said this before he left. He would be calling me before he left town the following week. And I said, well, I said, I'm going to be going out of town myself. And I've got a lot of things going on. I was trying to be very kind.
Yeah.
And that's when I said about the friends, and then he texted me when I got home. And I texted him the next day and said, I'm really sorry. I said, I don't see a connection there. And I wish you all the luck, in your searches. And his
Yeah.
response back was, oh, that's fine. He says, a girlfriend, an old girlfriend has revived herself and has come back into my life. And I thought, I don't think so. I think you're just reviving your ego here. But
Yeah,
that's fine.
probably.
I let him keep his ego.
Yeah, and that's okay. I mean, that's
Yeah,
absolutely
absolutely.
okay. And I think that's one of the hardest things, I think, for a lot of my clients, they don't know how to move on.
Right.
And I think what you said is perfect. I mean, it's like, I'm just not feeling any connection, so I'm going to be moving on and wish you the best of luck. And
Right.
and I have to tell you, that was one thing that I was really proud of and I'm always pretty nice. I mean, I mean, I never try to be mean to people. But that's one of the things I kind of pride myself in, is that I always take the high road with men. And because of the fact, I tell people dating is a small world, and this is one example where you and I ended up dating the same man. But I was really proud of myself that even under the circumstances, and I'm not gonna lie, I mean, it wasn't like he devastated me, but it was a pinch. I mean, it was
Oh,
kind
yeah.
of a pinch. I mean, somebody basically tells you you're fat. I mean, it's kind of a pinch.
Well, he's
But
no bodybuilder. I mean,
well, no, he's not, but that doesn't
he's
really.
not somebody I would have looked at twice had I walked into a
I
bar.
know exactly. Me neither. Honestly, me neither.
Yeah.
But so I was just really proud of myself in the fact that I was very classy. And I said basically the same thing. I guess we just don't have, we're not as good of a fit as I thought we were. And I'm
Yeah.
going to be moving on. And I think, and I was really proud of myself that I was able to maintain my composure because, you don't want to do anything in the light of day that would, or you don't want to do anything in the dark of night that would embarrass you in the light of day, which I
Right.
wish I could say that I've never done that, but I try to minimize that stuff, you know. So tell me this, Cindy, and I don't want to take too much of your time. So tell me something with all the experience that you have had. What do you think is the one thing that you could share that would be the most impactful for someone who is just starting to date?
Man or woman?
Woman.
Oh, do not go into a date with expectations.
Oh, I like that. I like that.
Yeah.
Just be real
Let it
open to what happens.
open and if something's going to happen, let it happen organically and just have fun. Period. The only expectation you should have if you're going to have anything is go out and have fun.
Hmm.
And I
Yeah.
know that before the internet scene, I used to go out on a lot of blind dates. And everybody always complained about blind dates. I love blind dates because I never had any expectations. I'd always go out and have a good time.
Right. Right.
And it's kind of the same thing.
And I want to ask you one more question. How long have you been back in St. Louis?
Oh, 20 years.
Oh, okay. So a long time. Because I was just kind of curious how dating is in different parts of the country. But you don't really
Uh,
have recent experience with that.
no, but I've dated a lot of, and when I was in Houston, I dated a lot of I've dated men from all over the world.
Oh, really?
And
So
that's always been interesting.
do you find US men are different than
Oh,
international men?
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Are they better or worse?
Depends. The Frenchmen can be very obnoxious. I mean,
Frenchmen?
that's,
Hmm.
oh, they can be very sweet, but they can be a little obnoxious too. And probably the best are your Latins. I mean, as far as
Those Latin lovers.
romantics, and yeah, yeah.
That's so interesting. Have you ever dated someone who didn't speak your language?
Oh yeah. Those have been some of my best days.
Oh, that's pretty funny. That's funny. You make me laugh. That makes me laugh. Well, I am so excited. Thank you so much for spending time with us. Ladies, I hope if you're watching this, I hope you kind of learned a lot. I mean, she didn't want to see him again. I would have gladly seen him again because I definitely felt chemistry where she did not, even though he wasn't attractive to either one of us. But that chemistry is really more than what happens on the outside. It's that, you got to look past the packaging and really look at the person. And until he really showed himself, I thought the person was somebody that I would be attracted to. So, but I think it's
Well,
interesting to see people's perspectives.
well, one last thing in my dating experience too is that a lot of times when I have formed an opinion where it was a guy that I was definitely didn't feel like there was chemistry, have turned out to be some of my best relationships.
That's true. I wrote a blog article. I just wrote a blog article about that. So if you haven't read that, go to dategreatguys.com and go into my blogs because I just wrote an article about that just like this week. So yeah, I agree with you. You really do need to open again, though, to your point though, Cindy, you have to kind of have an open mind, give yourself time
Right.
and give them time. And because I think, depending on how much they date, men are just as nervous about first dates as women are.
Oh, oh, absolutely.
Yeah, they're just as
Absolutely.
nervous. Absolutely just as nervous. So if they've got the jitters and so I always tell my clients it's like, if they're nice, if they're polite, if you had some laughs, if they, give them time, give it another date or two. See if there's any chemistry that could develop. Now, I don't want women you out there to think you have to settle, But what I'm saying is just give them some grace to like start being comfortable enough to be themselves.
Right. Personality is what will also seal the chemistry. And
Absolutely.
that doesn't always show up on a first date.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Cindy, thank you so much for spending time with us. Ladies, I hope you enjoyed this. Until next time, be sure to keep your heart opens and hoping, can't even talk right. Keep your heart open and ready for love because you never know where you might find it. And I'm just going to say, see you soon. Love you all. Bye-bye.
Bye, Michelle.
Bye, Cindy. Thank you.
Uh-huh.